life, Dan. He says this is bigger than the gold medal fight in Seoul. It means that much to him.
And from a business standpoint, it's hard to argue with him.
Just a little perceptible picking up the pace here by Kennedy, and a little bit of a perceptible slowing down by Bungu. I think it's safe to say, Dan, that Bungu is not in the condition he was in the first fight. He has not been able to maintain quite the pace he has in the first fight. So far in our scorecard, he hasn't had to.
We'll be right back. That's after this word from our ABC stations. The 9th round gets underway. Kennedy McKinney runs from his stool out to the middle of the ring to meet Bungu. He has got to pick up the pace here in these last 4 rounds if he's and there he is, I guess, being ruled a slip.
Yeah, he's showing him a slip. He went over his leg.
Stanley Christodoulou ruling it a slip.
There was a punch involved, but the legs got tangled.
And the punch landed on the hip of Bungu. That left jab of Kennedy McKinney is almost like a rangefinder more than a weapon. The punches of Bungu are much crisper, much sharper. They don't seem to land with a thud, but they are landing.
He is not fighting as well, Dan, as we said in the last round, as he did in trying to win when he won the title to McKinney. He has not been as active. He has not been as aggressive. He has not been as accurate.
There is Kennedy McKinney's wife, Billy, who has made the trip here to South Africa to root for her husband, and how very much she'd love to see him reclaim his title.
Kennedy has not stopped trying. You see him there, putting punches together. Not much coming back from Bungu, but when he does throw, he scores clean right hands as he did just then. So Kennedy throws 4 and 5 punches and maybe gets one through. And Bungu comes back with a couple and scores a punch that the judges have to see.
Don't you just have to, at all costs, work the body of a fighter, Alex, who fights in that defensive crouch?
Kennedy tried at the beginning of the fight, Dan. He's gotten away from it.
Because that jab of his just gives every impression of a wasted punch.
The thing that you wonder about is when Kennedy will just start to just throw the right hand with as much authority as he can put behind it. I know it's tough for him because he's so frustrated because he can't even find this guy with a jab. I mean, we talk about putting the jab out as a rangefinder, so you put the right hand behind it.
Right.
He puts the jab out and he can't find him with it.
There's a good left hand from Bungu that caught McKinney in the face.
If you can't hit him with a jab, you're not going to hit him with the right hand. Sometimes you will because you're forced him to react to the jab and to react into a right hand. So you want to see Kennedy keep throwing the jab and try to get Bungu to fall onto the right hand. He has to just try to pick up the pace. And I do think Bungu's a little bit tired, and I think Kennedy, if he is as in good shape as he told us he was, has to really try to pick up the pace and turn things around.
We've come to the end of round number 9. Let's get the 10th round started. Dan Deerdorf, Alex Malo ringside. Glad you're with us here on ABC's Wide World of Sports. We're in Hammanskraal, South Africa, about 150 kilometers north of Johannesburg, for this championship bout. Kennedy McKinney, the American challenger, and the red and the yellow better get it going here.
The good news is, Dan, that I gave him the last round. The bad news is that he really, at this point, probably needs a knockout to win. Who knows? Many stranger things have happened. But at least on our scorecards, Kennedy does need a knockout to win at this point in round 10.
Our 3 judges, one from the United States, one from Canada, one from here in South Africa. And I couldn't agree with you more, Alex. I think that if it goes to the scorecards, Kennedy McKinney's going to lose.
Another low blow, at least a 5th warning from Stanley Christodoulou. And at some point, you do have to take a point away, or you have to say, next one, and I'm going to deduct a point.
And I haven't seen that yet, Alex.
Right. That is not the reason is because it hasn't happened.
Right. They've been very casual warnings, like Christodoulou. I doubt Kennedy McKinney thinks they're very casual.
Now's the time, if Kennedy has anything in his tank, to really put some pressure on, just to come forward firing. Don't worry if you miss 4 punches. You have to keep hoping that the 5th gets home, because you just can't win this kind of a boxing match.
McKinney has had 17 knockouts in his 33 professional fights. Bungu has had 18 in his 33. It's the 34th fight for both of these men.
You see Kennedy made Bungu miss there. Bungu looked bad for a moment, but he couldn't come back with a punch that when he had his opponent in a vulnerable position.
Inside the final minute of the 10th. Vuyani Bungu, who lists one of his most treasured accomplishments, winning the State Sports President Award from President Nelson Mandela here in South Africa. Very proud to carry the banner of his country as he fights around the world. Especially when he knows that the president had the boxing experience that he did have. A man who really is devoted to sport and to boxing in particular. This bout scheduled for 12. This is the end of 10. Let's get the 11th round started. Remember, it was the 11th round, Dan, when Kennedy McKinney won the World Championship with an unbelievable right-hand knockout. He will have to really find, at least on our scorecards, lightning in a bottle a second time. And about a minute prior to that knockout by McKinney, it looked like he was on his way out. So he is capable of winning a fight on one punch. And I fear that in this case, he's going to have to. An extremely solid and professional performance by Vuyani Bungu. And this may not, Dan, you know, we really have to be fair. We concentrated a lot on what Kennedy isn't able to do. I'm not sure we've given enough credit to Bungu, the champion, on the right of your screen. He is a very difficult opponent. Awkward, look at bobbing and weaving and hands up. And well, like any sport, Alex, you can't win without a good defense, and Vuyani Bungu is an extremely effective defensive fighter. Kennedy McKinney got his supporters. The few who were here at ringside, a little bit excited there a moment ago. He scored. It didn't look like a great punch, but it had a little bit of effect on Bungu. He has not been able to follow up on it. Well, he's got to unload. He has got to let the right hand go. He is not going to win this fight in the last 2 rounds by jabbing at Bungu. Might be able to set up the right with the jab, though, Dan. I mean, I wouldn't abandon. I wouldn't abandon, but he's got to throw the right. He's just got to let it go. He's got to let it go. He goes into exchanges and throws 3 or 4 lefts and won't let the right hand go. In fairness to Kennedy also, he has come in much better condition than he was the first time around. And I think that's part of the reason why Vuyani's performance has not been as dominant as it was in the first fight. Although actually, in terms of scoring, it may turn out to be more dominant. Well, McKinney has not thrown a right hand in the last minute. Good jab there by McKinney, but nothing in combination with it. There was a right hand, but it missed. Let's give credit also, Dan. Yep. It has been a very, very good pace in this fight. Both men throwing, both men trying. Some periods where they had to take off to collect themselves, but it has been a very well-paced fight. And again, a reminder, at altitude, a fine performance of stamina by both of these guys. Coming to the end of the 11th round, we'll stay here between rounds as both corners get ready for the start of the 12th and final round. Yes, there is a case of wishful thinking. Yes, one more to go, Kennedy. I mean, that may be. Final round, but you got to head. Let's listen to his corner.
You got to have it be. That's backyard. You know what I'm saying? It's cold. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have it big, man. How bad you want it? I want it bad. They gotta go get it, man. Don't drop that left hand. Put your combination together. Everything you work on. You know what I'm saying? Everything you work on. On the long ride to come here, man. How bad you want it, man? You gotta go get stick down, man. Keep your left hand. Keep your left hand up. You hear what I'm saying? You ready to go get it? Let's go get it, man. Let's go get it. Let's go. Keep your left hand up. Give me that mouthpiece.
Well, not much in the way of technical strategy. The corner of Kennedy McKinney imploring him to let's go get him. Well, that's true. He does need to go get him.
We should point out that both men have corners that are different than when they first met. Kenny Adams, the former Army coach and amateur coach of Kennedy McKinney.